Welcome to What Am I Modeling? I'm Dr. Tricia Pingel, and here's the truth that nobody's telling you. Your nervous system is broadcasting a frequency that everyone around you is picking up. My mission is to break this generational cycle of stress, burnout, and perfectionism before they destroy another generation's mental and physical health. What are you modeling to the world? Let's dive in. Welcome back to What Am I Modeling? So today's episode is totally different and something I've never done before. So we are doing a dual podcast today. So not only am I recording for What Am I Modeling, but my guest, Dr. Amie Hornaman, is recording for her podcast, The Thyroid Fixer. So you're going to have two co-hosts recording two podcasts at the same time, which will make this very unique. It will be a blend between the usual uplifting, motivational aspect of my show with her technical health related focus when it comes to the thyroid and hormones, adrenals, etc. So let me tell you a little bit about my guest today, Dr. Amie Hornaman. She has devoted her career to helping women reclaim their health by addressing the root causes of thyroid and hormone dysfunction. She is known as the Thyroid Fixer, and her podcast goes by the same name. She will talk to you about her book that is being released here very shortly, which is so exciting. And what I love the most about Dr. Amie and what brought us together today was just the raw, honest, authentic flow of her and the information and the passion that she carries for health, particularly as it surrounds to the thyroid and hormones, is just, it's intoxicating. It's wonderful. She's a joy. So that is why we are going to do this today and give it a go. It's a bit of a long one. I think we went almost 2 hours. So if you listen to this in the car, make sure that you just keep coming back to it because it is full from the start to finish. It is full of valuable information with takeaways. As Dr. Amie says, it's almost like a masterclass of free takeaways that you can do with your health to benefit your hormones, to benefit your thyroid, and to benefit your mind and your joy so that you can enjoy every single day that you are fortunate enough to be here on this beautiful planet. So without further ado, let's dive into this dual podcast experiment. Oh, I'm so excited to talk to you, Amie Hornaman.
I know, Ms. Tricia. I am so happy that we're doing this. We're doing something a little bit different today. So we got to tell our audiences this is a dual podcast, meaning Dr. Tricia Pingel and I, I want to call you the chip all the time.
I know, and I don't eat them. So I don't know why people associate that chip with me, but yes, it is. I used to be
kind
Smith,
of like totally contradictory. You're in the health space and we're calling you a potato chip. Dr. Tricia Pingel and I have decided, we've been friends and colleagues for a while. And so we just decided as we were voice messaging back and forth about being on each other's show, like, hey, we should just riff and get together and talk about what our audience literally wants to hear from us conversing about their health.
Yep. So you are listening to a dual broadcast of What Am I Modeling and the Thyroid Fixer podcast melded together into the most amazing podcast that you're ever going to hear today. So we're ready to roll and we're ready to do it. So this should be fun. I'm excited.
This is going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. So I'll let you kick us off because you said something before we jumped on here that was key that I think this is where we need to start.
Yeah, I think the beauty of the two of us with this is, my show's What Are We Modeling, right? And I'm going to ask you, what are we modeling to the world about women's health, about hormone health? And I just feel like even as, I'll be 50 this year. Yay, fun. I mean, great. And I feel like I look around at what all my friends, what all my patients are dealing with. They're getting this bite-sized information on women's health from people that aren't even necessarily trained in women's health. And they're getting all this stimulation. Hormones good, hormones bad, high dose, low dose, thyroid, not this, medication, eat that, inject that, do that. And we're all individual women, but I think the one thing that we have collectively is that we're all freaking confused. And I want to just dispel this myth and have an honest conversation with you about what do you see that we are modeling about women's health and hormone health on social media and to the world. Take it away, Amie.
Yes. Okay. So, in the last few months, really in the last 6 months, we've seen so much more of a spotlight shine down upon women's health, specifically around hormones, as the black box warning got removed from our BHRT therapy. So that was huge. And we have celebrities like Halle Berry standing on stages talking about how they were diagnosed with herpes when in fact they had perimenopause. So that's fantastic. But what I feel is the issue with this is that number one, of course, from my point of view, there's not enough love being given to the thyroid, which is the master gland and
Mhm.
literally controls whether or not perimenopause and menopause is going to suck for you or not. And so we need more spotlight there.
Mhm.
And we need more clarification around hormones because even when you and I were talking offline planning for this, I replayed one of your voice messages today because we were going back and forth with so many great ideas and so many points. And you made the perfect point of, there's all these hormone clinics now. So now we have spotlight on menopause. Oh, look, hormones are now good for us. They're no longer cancer causing. Cool. So now there's a hormone clinic popping up on every freaking corner for men and women, and they're handing hormones out like candy.
Yeah,
There's
and
no
not even no
testing.
exam, no
No,
doctor, like,
nothing.
based on symptom alone.
Yeah. Yeah. And listen, symptoms are important.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we both Trisha and I care about your symptoms. We're not going to treat you like a lab value, but
Yeah.
you got to have everything. You need at least a baseline. We need to know how your body is functioning. Are there any red flags that we need to know about before we start you on this medication? Because a hormone is a medication. And so it's gone almost the other direction of like the wild, wild west of hormone therapy out there.
Yeah, and you can get on a telemedicine call and get an antidepressant, you can get semaglutide, you can get estradiol, you can get testosterone, and often without even a lab test. And, just because I know you're like the thyroid like lover and I'm the adrenal gland lover, and both of us know how much these are tied into how we even respond to a compounded estrogen or progesterone or testosterone and whether or not it's going to be utilized correctly. So we have to check those hormones. We have to check everything, not just a spot estradiol or a spot FSH to see if we're a candidate for estrogen therapy. There are so many different things we have to look at. And so, yeah, this is what frustrates me because we look as women, we're trying to be proactive. And I don't know about you, girl, but like me, I do 400,000 things a day. I mean, I feel like, and I even take really good care of myself when it comes to my adrenal health. And I dance every day and I have my downtime and I do all the things and I still do 400 things a day. I mean, my emails flying in, the things for the kids, the remembering that, the reminding that, the this and that. And the last thing that I want to do is see 500 different opinions on whether or not I should take a cream, a troche. Is it good? Is it not? What doctor should I use? What lab should I use? Will my insurance cover it? Right? And so, yeah, it frustrates the heck out of me because what are we modeling to women if we're just saying, okay, get on the phone and do you have hot flashes? Okay, here's your standard estrogen script.
Hmm.
We're not even gonna care, and then when the woman says, "God, I don't feel right. I'm gaining weight. I just my hair's falling out," all of a sudden, maybe they were put on it when they still had a cycle, or maybe they start a cycle again because the dose was not regulated in the way it needed to be regulated, and then they have no one to call. So then who gets that call? We do.
Right. Right, exactly. Or they'll
Right,
they'll give them estrogen without progesterone.
right,
Like, that's
right.
horrendous as well, and women don't know. They just don't know to ask for it unless they are listening to us say it ad nauseum. They don't know to say, "Hey, doc, I probably shouldn't be on this estrogen only because, progesterone balances it, and I don't want my estrone to go up. I don't wanna increase my risk of cancer. I don't wanna increase my risk of blood clots." They don't know. All they're
Yeah,
looking for is the least expensive solution. So I get that, right? If that's the only way you're going to get hormones is for 129 a month at the corner pop-up clinic, okay, but but I would encourage you to not go that route because it
Mhm.
could do more harm than good, and those are the issues that we're seeing.
Yeah, and so to let all of you know out there, in perimenopause, it's progesterone that drops first. Why? That pesky cortisol, that stress that all of us are doing because we're doing 800,000 things a day. And so when the progesterone drops, we have the symptoms of low estrogen, but we may not need estrogen yet. We may not. So to go ahead and start with estrogen and not even consider progesterone is also backwards. We should be considering progesterone first and then deciding, do we also need estrogen? Do we also need testosterone? What do we need thyroid? Do we need to support our adrenals? And so progesterone really needs to be part of the equation. And maybe you can speak to this in an educational manner so that I'm not talking the whole time. But I just had a conversation with a patient the other day, and she was like, "Well, my OB put me on progesterone," and I said, "No, she put you on progestin."
Oh.
And they were like, well, that's progesterone. She called it progesterone. And I said, but it's not progesterone. And when you look at the studies that now have been, they're debunking things, but the studies were always a synthetic estrogen, like an ethyl estradiol, and a progestin put together. They were always that. This was not a new development. And you and I were out there saying the studies do not support that bioidenticals are a problem. But the studies were all about the progestin. And unfortunately, she continued to bleed heavily. It didn't do anything. And she had all these problems. We switched her to a bioidentical progesterone. And in 2 days, she felt like Superwoman. She was freaking amazing. Bleeding stopped. It was fine. And so why don't you clear up that myth? Because I think it's a really important one. Progesterone is not progestin.
No, it's not. So let's look at birth control. Birth control is basically synthetic hormones. Now, you can do a lower estrogen birth control, you can do just progestin only, but it is progestin. It is not progesterone. What we know about birth control and the thyroid is any woman who has been on birth control, i.e., synthetic hormones, for more than 10 years. This girl was. I'm raising my hand here. I am not speaking from a pedestal. I am speaking from the trenches. So if you've been on birth control for more than 10 years, you're at a 243% increased risk of hypothyroidism.
That's
That is
nuts.
243. Like, basically you're guaranteed to have hypothyroidism at some point in your life.
Mhm,
And the reason is, it's because, as you know, those synthetic hormones come in and they shut down your own hormonal production.
mhm,
So if you're popping birth control, let's say in your teens and 20s, you are literally shutting down your own beautiful progesterone production
mhm.
for the entire time that you're on that birth control, and maybe even for years after, because some women take a while to spring back
Yeah.
from the use of synthetic hormones for years and years. It can take a couple years.
Mhm. Yeah, and then they're going through, marriage, kids, divorce, career, whatever, and you've got cortisol on the other side coming in and trying to steal progesterone shoes. I always say cortisol and progesterone are like besties, but they kind of like piss each other off every so often. So, like, cortisol comes in and steals progesterone shoes from the closet. It borrows it, borrows a little bit of progesterone all the time in times of need. Like, cortisol wins, right? The stress response is always going to win. And the stress response and the thyroid are so tied into each other because they work together. So it's like they pull thyroid and, like, hey, buddy, why don't you help me mess with progesterone today? And they have a lot of fun together, kind of like a group of teenage girls.
Exactly. I love it. I love that analogy. Now, Trisha, I want you to expand on that a little bit because there's a lot of talk about the progesterone steal and the pregnenolone steal as it
Mhm.
relates to cortisol and our adrenals. Can you actually expand on that for my audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're in the woods and you're just taking a hike and you see a bear, you freak out, right? And that moment is our protective mechanism. We freak out. We literally in a moment, we change our entire physiology. We downregulate hormone production. We start pushing things around. We focus on just getting energy to run away from that bear, which is life saving in a moment. But unfortunately, in our lives, every time we turn the corner, there's another bear and another bear and another bear and another bear. And what happens is then our brain starts to adapt to that signal and it says, oh my gosh, we need to prepare. There's going to be another bear. So now, even when there isn't a bear, right, you think there's going to be a bear. So your brain starts signaling to the endocrine system to make those adaptations just in case that bear that you think is going to pop around the corner will come. And we see this all the time. Like as women, my son started driving. And the minute he starts driving, I'm thinking, oh my God, what if he runs into this or that? Oh my God, what if he turns the wrong way? Oh, he's going to do it. He's going to, totally unfounded, but my brain is saying, uh-oh, there might be a bear. You better be prepared. You better be prepared. So in that moment, I'm not managing my hormones well. So what happens is we want to be prepared for that bear. So there's a couple different things that can go on in the endocrine system. Number one, we start to utilize that beautiful progesterone that we have to turn it into cortisol so that we can be prepared. The other thing we do is we start to store thyroid as reverse T3 because we're like, hey, just in case that bear comes tomorrow, I want to have enough reserves. So I'm going to downregulate the T3 production to a point where I can just get by, just enough, get out of bed, go do my thing, and I'm going to store the rest just in case. I mean, to be honest, Amie, it's so freaking cool that our body can do this because this is why we are still on this planet. Because when we are in threat, when we are in a fight or flight, our body will adapt to keep us alive. Now, that doesn't mean that we're going to look great or feel great. We're just going to be alive, right? So all those things that give us the beautiful skin, the nice hair, the weight management, all of that go to the wayside because that doesn't keep us alive, right? And then what I'm finding, the longer and longer that I treat adrenals, I think what people maybe this will be a bit controversial, but I'm going to say it.
I love
So
it.
for so many years, what can I take for my adrenal fatigue? What can I take for my thyroid? What can I take for my hormones? And, I could list off 1,000 different herbs and 1,000 different protocols. But the bottom line is, if you have run from a bear long enough, you have now changed the signal from the brain to always be in fear. So no amount of rhodiola is going to help if you don't actually change the way you view the world. And this is kind of where my podcast came into it. I was like, okay, let's take a minute. What type of generational burnout are we teaching our children when we're always running from a bear? It's no wonder we're in perimenopause earlier. It's no wonder we have more cases of Hashimoto's because guess what, guys? That's related to stress on the body. It's an autoimmunity. So we are under so much stress. And listen up. I'm going to say ladies, but men too. Listen up. It's not the stressors on the outside that are causing the problem. It's the way you're looking at them. You're interpreting it. I'm about ready to go to Disneyland. I'm psyched. And I get on Space Mountain and I am psyched. I am having so much fun where the person next to me could be totally freaking out. Same environment, same roller coaster, same stress. One person is excited and joyful and smiling, and the other person is having a panic attack. Same stress. So we could apply that, right? We could have a death in the family. We could have your kids forget where their shoes are, and one person will completely overreact and the other person won't notice. We have to stop blaming everything around us. And this even includes, we can get into this too, but even all the people out there with bite-sized medicine, we can blame them. You and I can sit there and say, they're doing the wrong thing. But the bottom line is, it's how we take that information, how we interpret that information, and that's how our body's going to respond. And if you're controlling the brain, those supplements for the thyroid, for the adrenal, the bioidentical hormones are going to work so much better because you're in a parasympathetic state and you're not worried about it. That was a long tangent. Take it from here.
I was going to say thank you for listening to the Thyroid Fixer podcast. We're just going to end it right there because that's a mic drop moment. I mean, and done. No, but that was absolutely perfect because it just made me think of, I always think of my patients when I'm having conversations with someone on the show. I always I think about my patients and what they're struggling with. And I think about that woman that is usually low progesterone,
Mhm.
and she's very, very stressed out, where it's almost like her nerve endings are on the outside. Like anything sets her off, everything upsets her, everything is catastrophic.
Yep.
And it's just her perception. Cause you and I would look at that going like, calm down, go get a freaking massage or something for God's, here's some more progesterone. Like you got to just chill out. But in her mind, all of these things that she perceives as a
Mhm.
major stressor really are to her insides. Her
Yep.
insides are firing, her cortisol is increasing, her blood glucose is going
Mhm.
wacky, she's
Mhm.
putting on fat, her
Yep.
thyroid's down regulating, she's losing progesterone. All of that is really happening, but
Yep.
it's happening in response to her perception of her environment, just what you said. I absolutely love that.
And you have to look at all of it, and I personally did hypnosis because we've all been there. I'm not, like, I've been there. I've gone through so many major life events that literally took me down into a depressive hole where I didn't want to wake up every day. And I woke up one day and I was like, what am I teaching my children
Mhm.
about stress and about life and about what it's like to be an adult if I don't have any joy in my life and I'm just going through the motions and being there for everyone else, right? And we've been there. But I went and did hypnosis because I was like, look, I got to get into my subconscious and I have to understand where this is coming from. And I interviewed someone yesterday, Amy, it was so cool. But she's a hypnotherapist. And she was like, the majority of our self limiting beliefs are I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I have to control everything, come from something that happened between age 0 and 5. And it doesn't have to be major. It could be like your mom maybe just had your baby brother and just sent the uncle to pick you up from kindergarten. But you felt, "Oh my god, my mom doesn't want me anymore because she's with my brother," right? And that
Mhm.
one moment, mom didn't do anything wrong. There was no trauma, but for some reason, there was a little thing that popped into the brain that said, "I'm not good enough," or "I'm not as good as my brother," or whatever. And then you have this emotion. And over the years, that emotion gets triggered by something. Maybe politics, maybe a news story, maybe something a best friend says or something that happens. And you immediately think, I'm not good enough. I need to do better. I need to control the situation. And that's when we get all spazzed out and we overreact to everything. And that's why a lot of the times I can put women on hormones, even thyroid not as much. Thyroid seems to be pretty, kind of overcomes a lot. But I can put women on estrogen, progesterone, and they don't have the same positive response that other women do. And I usually find it's because they're just running from a bear all day long. So, you know what I'm grateful for?
Yes.
Every day I wake up and I'm just grateful to wake up. And
Fair.
that's
I
enough
like
for
that.
me. You
Mhm.
know, like it's a bonus when I get to do something like this and see someone I like and talk to someone and share wisdom. Like that's just like a bonus on my day. But the fact that I woke up this morning is something to be grateful for because somebody didn't. A lot of people didn't. And if I can ask you, because we were talking earlier about hormones, cancer, right? We're
Mhm.
talking about stress response, the brain. And usually it's because we're worrying about something bad's going to happen, right? Oh, I don't want to take hormones because I might get cancer, right? Or I might get this or that. So, can I ask you, because you've been going through this
Mhm.
cancer.
Yep.
And for me, watching my mom pass of cancer slowly um, changed my perspective on life, where now waking up and being able to get out of bed is something that I'm grateful for. So, can you talk a little bit about this experience? Because it's not the be all end all. You're still right in front of me, girl.
Right? Yeah, no, exactly, exactly, and so many people have asked me this, over the past 6 months that I've been going through this, and I appreciate it. I mean, I love the fact that people are reaching out like, "How are you doing? How are you doing?" And it's funny because 'cause I'm always like, I'm fine. How are you?" Like, as if something is supposed to be wrong with me, but
Y-
then I do have to step back, and I have to look at the fact that the way I deal with stress is so much different from like how my neighbor or how my friend would. And I
Yeah.
really think my stress resilience is up mainly because of the way that I take care of myself. I always joke I live in optimization land. It's very similar to Disneyland. That where but but in optimization land, you won't gain weight, eating the Mickey Mouse ice cream cone and the churro. You don't gain weight looking sideways at a brownie. You have abundant energy all day, but your stress resilience is up.
Yeah.
So the things that would normally tip someone off center, it just doesn't happen to me. And I really do attribute that to being optimized with my thyroid, with my hormones, with my adrenals, how I take care of myself. My work-life balance is not always perfect. I am running from the bear sometimes as well, but I really do try to balance. I take that time out in the morning to walk Riley, and then I do a workout. Then I jump into work. So just even taking those blocks of time in addition to having my thyroid and my hormones optimized, I really think puts me at a different level of stress response. So when
Yeah.
I got the diagnosis, whenever you hear the C word, it's going to throw you off center. I mean, hands down. So when I got that diagnosis, absolutely, I was like, oh my gosh, I never thought that I would hear cancer. So you absolutely are kind of faced with your own mortality. You are thrown into a stressful situation where you have to make decisions based on a boatload of information coming in at you. But all in all, I really do feel blessed that I was able to walk my way through that journey, come out the other side. Thankfully, cancer free, knock on wood. Yes, there's circulating tumor cells still, but for the most part, I will say I'm cancer free. And I really wasn't sidelined by it. It didn't throw me off. I didn't miss days because I was in self-pity mode or anything like that. I just made it through. But that experience also taught me that things like this or any kind of health crisis, it doesn't even have to be the big C. It
Mhm.
doesn't. I mean, it could be that woman listening to this podcast that has gone to 5 different doctors and the corner hormone clinic and just has not been listened to, has not been heard. Nobody understands me. No one's ever going to help me. And those thoughts start ruminating through her mind. I get it. I get how those thoughts get in there. But really, this is why Tricia and I are doing this
Mhm.
podcast and why we do our podcast, because we want to give you hope. We want to empower you. We want to give you the information that you need to take your health to the next level. And we want to give you the ability to get through health situations without destroying your adrenals and spiking your cortisol and being just a puddle of crying, because we don't want that for you. We know what that will do to your insides and to your health. But when you have hope, when you have direction, when you have empowerment, you can make it through just the same as I did.
And when you have joy.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, joy is the key to health, I think. I mean, I got brought myself back through hip hop dance. Like, if I wouldn't have started dancing, I probably wouldn't be here, if I'm honest. And I mean, that's a pretty bold statement, or if I was here physically, I would not be here in the capacity that I am and finding that joy. Um, what was the lesson that you learned from cancer? Because I always think these types of things are not roadblocks. They're doors to open up for us to grow in a different way, kind of like
Mhm.
the world saying, "Hey, just checking."
Yep.
What was your lesson, or what has your lesson been, or still are you still working on it?
Well, it's funny that you just mentioned joy. So I'm going to share something that I have not shared yet on my podcast or to my audience. So about 2 weeks ago, I did my first ever plant medicine journey.
Oh,
And if the audience doesn't know what that is, it can be combinations of, MDMA, psilocybin,
mhm,
mushrooms, there's different combos that you can do, but basically it is plant medicine
mhm,
and it really helps you deal with trauma. I mean, I would say think about taking 20 years of talk therapy and 5 different, therapy modalities and squeeze them into 5 hours. I mean, that's literally that's literally what it does.
yeah.
And what I learned on that journey was that I have different personalities. Now, don't think I'm crazy. It doesn't mean I have multiple personalities, but we
Are you a
all have
Gemini? Because I'm a
pers
Gemini, so I
I'm
have
not a
multiple
Pisces, Pisces. So I don't know where this fits in, but this is what came up, right?
Okay.
So these different personalities. So one personality is joy, which is my middle name. and Joy has been riding in the back seat. And she's been with Julie, who's compassion, and Julie and Joy have been riding in the back seat. The drivers have been Sue, the defensive one, and the
Mhm.
rock that carries everyone's problems, does everything for everybody, always fixes, always solves. I joke that I was born the fixer. I think I said
Mhm.
that during my journey,
Mhm.
and because I'm always fixing people. And those 2 really have to take the back seat. So I gotta put the rock and Sue, the defensive one, in
Mhm.
the back because, I mean, I will throw down and fight with anybody. I mean, if you attack my family, if you attack my team, it's like gloves are off, let's go. Like, I gotta chill out a little bit. So, Sue, the defensive one, and the rocker in the back, and now Joy and Julie, the compassionate one, need to drive. And the message I got was, if Julie doesn't start driving, if compassion doesn't take the front seat, the cancer will come back. Because if
I
I'm living in
100%
that
believe in that.
state, yeah.
Yeah.
If I'm doing everything for everyone, I'm taking on the world, I'm in fight mode all the time, what is that doing to my cortisol, Tricia, and what feeds cancer?
Yeah, and what is that teaching the next generation, right? And I think it's so funny because when I look at this, I look at the generation ahead of me, my mom, my dad, and then above that, grandparents, and we were taught to just keep going. The harder you work, the more you push, the more you push, the more you push, the better you'll be, the better you'll be. And that just isn't the case anymore. I think that joy and compassion are the keys to health, and they 100%. And that if you're not taking that time and that to look at things from a lens of compassion, you may not agree with what you're looking at. But if you look at it from, okay, I have compassion for that. I don't agree, but that's
Mhm.
okay. I'm just going to go this direction. I'm going to go where I'm joyful, and doing something in your day every single day that's joyful not only helps adrenal fatigue, but also helps the immune system. And there's tons of research on joy and immune function and cancer and how we stay healthy. And so this is going to be fun for you because yeah, you're a rock. You're scrappy do.
I know, but I can't be all the time, Tricia. That's the message, right? That's the message. And I think that's the message for women too.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know
Mhm.
if I got that download just for myself. I do believe I got it also for my ladies, for my
Yeah.
listeners, for my audience, in that, you know, women multitask. You said that right from the beginning. As women, we are always running from bears because we put a lot of bears in our path by choice.
By choice.
By choice.
Mhm.
And if we don't recognize the fact that we cannot be everything to everyone and take care of ourselves at the same time, then something's going to break, and it's usually us. It's usually our bodies. It's usually our health. You know, your family isn't going to break because you step back from doing absolutely everything for everyone. You're the one that is going to break if you don't step back.
Yeah, it's okay if the dishes aren't done when you've got a bunch of other things to do. I actually had that struggle with myself last night is I have a ton of things that I'm trying to get done before I go out of town. And I have teenagers. They know how to do the dishes, okay? They won't do it on the timeline that I want. Let me just be clear, but they know how. So I start picking up all the 800 water glasses around the house, like that kids leave. So I'm picking them all up and I put them all in the sink and I'm like, "Oh my god, I gotta get to dance class. I gotta get this and that. I gotta get dinner ready. Oh, I gotta do the dishes." And then I thought, "No, I don't. I don't have to do the dishes. I can wait and let my kids do the dishes. And I don't have to get mad if they don't do it immediately. I just need to set the boundary. Hey, can you do the dishes before bed?" And then I need to let go and have some compassion for myself that for an hour, my house might not be perfect. And
Yeah.
that's okay, right? For me to go and dance and have fun, which I did. We danced to Peaches and Cream, which was so much fun. Wait, and Missy Elliott the night before, which is even better. So, like, for me to be able to go and have that joy brought me home. And what was so funny is I got home and my kids still hadn't done the dishes yet because, they're teenagers. And it was
Mhm.
like 8 o'clock at night. And I came in and I looked at it and I wasn't as bothered by it because I had danced.
Yes.
So my guard had been let down. I had been put into my flow state. So we know you like to work out, be hard, and be a rock, which kind of goes with the defensive rock side.
Uh-huh.
So what are you going to do for joy? What have you started to do? Or do you not know yet?
I don't think I know yet. I do get joy in little things. I really
Yeah.
do. Like I where I live right now, I have a beautiful view of the woods, which I absolutely love the woods. Like I'll go for a walk in the woods and I am good. I can stare at the woods. I am good. So just I would say my joy literally does come from enjoying where I live. Like my house, I don't need to travel. I mean, I do like to go to Disney World, but I don't need to travel necessarily to get joy. Just spending time with family, spending time with friends, being in the woods, playing with a dog. It literally is the simple things. Now I know this is the wrong answer, but I legit do get joy from work. It's one of those things I've really battled with this over the last couple of years because so often, especially in our community, I mean, we're surrounded by amazing health practitioners
Mhm,
all the time. And you hear a lot about like, well, reducing your hours and don't work as much and make sure that, because if you overwork your adrenals and all that.
mhm,
But I struggle because I go, I literally love this. Like being on this podcast with you,
mhm.
this is one of my most joyful times of the day.
Me
So,
too.
it's hard to say like, "Oh, I'm gonna work
Mm.
less," but then that's taking away something that brings me joy. So I do get joy from work.
I don't think it's work less. I think it's choosing how you work, right? I took away this huge practice where I was seeing 12 patients a day constantly. I couldn't remember who people were, then going home and taking care of everything. So I changed the environment of my work and went to concierge medicine. And I started to bring in things like this. Like the podcast is my favorite thing. Being on podcasts and hosting podcasts and speaking on stages and being
Yes.
with people is my favorite thing. It lights me up. So
Mhm.
I've created and changed my career to incorporate more of those elements and less of the elements that I don't like. And I think in that respect, that brings more joy because you're doing the things that bring you joy. I'm trying to still offload some of the things that don't bring me joy, like doing my books. Like,
Sure.
right, ugh,
Yeah.
ugh, but
Bookkeeper. Bookkeeper.
it's
Yeah.
just it's like the little things. But I would ask from joy when little Amy, like 4-year-old Amy, if you were left to your own devices, what would you have done with your time?
Oh, damn, girl. Alright. So, that would have been, playing with Barbies,
Okay.
being on a swing set, and legit going to Disney World because I already told you my parents were like Disney freaks. So I think we started going whenever I could actually walk and
Mhm.
walk around the park. So that was probably 5.
Yeah.
But yeah, going to Disney. So yeah, Barbie's, swing set, Disney World.
Do you have a swing set?
I don't.
Well, time to
Apparently I
get
need to
one.
get one.
It's time to get one or get a park where you can swing, find a
Mhm.
walk to a park nearby and swing. You honestly may find so much joy in that. It's something
True.
simple like that, right? And, I used to play with Barbies too, but it wasn't enough because I don't really feel like I want to play with Barbies. But
Right.
what was interesting is I started to ask myself, well, what did you do with the Barbies? And I used to take all of my like books and build houses. Like I'd build a bedroom and I'd decorate it and I'd play with the Barbie in there. And then I'd build, a little restaurant or whatever. And so I started to realize, well, I really love to redecorate. So I started refinishing furniture and I started, moving furniture around like every 6 months. I changed the living room a little bit. It may not be a whole overhaul, but I'll move where the couch faces, or I'll put a chair in a different place, or I'll swap out a plant or something because doing that is what I enjoyed about the Barbies was creating their home and then having them live in it, right? And
Love it.
so really looking at how you utilize things when you were a kid. If your parents said, "Hey, you have carte blanche to do whatever you want today," what would you have done? So for those of you, because I hear this all the time, which is why I bring it up, is that say, I don't even know what I enjoy anymore. I don't know. I'm too busy. I've got too much
Mhm.
stuff to do. I don't have time to do that. I would just ask you to take a pause, be a little curious and creative about how you can take those things that you used to love as a kid and bring them back into your life. I didn't start by dancing 7 days a week. I just knew my dad was a musician and in his part time, that was his hobby. And when he died, I was 20, 21, 22 years old. And the music died in me because every time I'd listen to music, I'd get sad.
Mhm.
So I just didn't. right? Fast forward 15 years, I'm not listening to music anymore. I had stopped dancing. I was stressed. I had had kids. I was in med school. My mom got sick with cancer and then she dies. My grandparents die, and I lost my music. I didn't feel my own rhythm of my music. And when I asked myself that question, what do I do? I said, well, I used to listen to music and sing along, and I used to dance. And I was a dancer. I was a captain of a dance team. I love to dance. So I went and just did one class a week. Actually, I don't even know that I started with that. I think I started like just in my kitchen. I was just like, well, can I still dance? Like, I don't even know. I couldn't follow choreography at all. Like, couldn't remember. I could remember maybe 4 counts, like, maybe an 8 count if I was lucky, and certainly wasn't doing it correctly, going to the left when I'm supposed to go right, whatever, and most people quit because they say, "Well, I'm not good at this anymore," and I think that resilience that you were talking about, that stress resilience, finding that power within yourself to say, "Okay, it may not be exactly like it was, but I remember enjoying this, so what can I enjoy about this moment?" Fast forward 10 years, I dance, 7 hours a week, and I do not miss it. Like, do not.
Yeah.
Nobody is going to stop me from walking out that door, and that was a boundary I had to set for myself. The dishes will be fine. The kids will be fine. My husband will be fine. The dog will be fine. Get in the car and go.
That's so good. So now, when you were back in med school, stressing out, you had lost your music. You really didn't have anything that anchored you in joy like you do now.
Right?
What happened to your health back in
Oh,
med school?
I mean, so I grew up in the fashion industry, right? So I had always been thin. I mean, I've been a model since I was 9 months old. Okay. So in front of cameras and whatever. And But when my health started to decline, it was funny because I started booking all these jobs, and I thought, "Why am I booking all these jobs?" It's because I was a size 0. I'm 6 feet tall, by the way. So I was 6 feet tall, I had lost all my muscle mass, you know, to where my stomach was basically protruding because my body was so thin. So I was maybe 12 pounds, I don't know, something
Wow.
like that. My hair was falling out, I was anemic, my eyes were baggy. Just looking at pictures of me when I go back and I look at that, just looking at how, I don't know if the best way to describe it was just the spark
Mm,
in me was gone. Okay, so from a visual standpoint, the people around me could see it, I couldn't because I would look in the mirror and say, "Well, it's good to be thin." It's That's what we want. That's what everyone else wants. That's what everyone else wants for me. So that was the kickoff of it. But what was happening is my periods were getting heavier, more clots, right? They were miserable. I couldn't leave the house for the first 3 days of my period because I would literally bleed through everything. I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't falling asleep well. I wasn't staying asleep. I was reacting to everything. I remember, and I beat myself up about it, Amy, but one of my boys, like, came into the kitchen one day, and my brain is running from a bear in that moment, right?
mhm. Yep.
And said, like, "Hey, can I have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich?" And I freaking lost it. I was like, "What? I don't have time." Like, lost it on this child. It, like, brings tears to my eyes because 'cause I'm like, "Oh my god, I probably ruined him for life." But I was so much in a reactive state at that time. So nutrient deficiencies, massive iron deficiency, B vitamin deficiency, magnesium deficiency,
Mhm.
muscle wasting, hair loss, wrinkles, constant stomach aches, bloating, constipation, heavy menstrual periods. By the way, I'd go to the doctor, which I don't like to do, and they'd be like, "Oh, you're fine. You're healthy," because I was thin. "Oh,
Yeah.
you're not overweight, so you must be fine." Nobody bothered to look at my body composition. Nobody bothered to ask, "How many times do you go to the bathroom a week?" Like, I literally was probably going to the bathroom, like, once a week. Like,
Wow.
the toxic load in me was intense, and emotionally, I felt like I wasn't good enough, and from the outside, anybody looking in would have said, "Trisha has everything.
Yeah.
She's on runways, she's a fashion model, she's a doctor, she's running a practice, she has a beautiful family, she has a pretty house, she has everything," like,
Mhm.
and I felt like I was nothing,
Mm.
and I'd wake up in the morning and just be like, "I hate my life. I don't know how to go on. And I was searching for my identity because from the time I was born, everyone told me who I was.
Oh, yeah.
You're in this family today and you're a daughter and this is your mom. And I'm 4. I'm like, "Uh, okay, hey, you need to be a size 0 and you need to walk in this way and you need to hold your head in this way. And you know what? Your thighs are too fat. And you know what? Your hair needs to be shorter. What are you doing with your complexion? When you need to go on a diet?" It's like everything. You walk into a room all dressed up and they're like, "Yeah, we don't like you." Right?
Mm,
My entire life. So that all came to a head when my mom died, and it affected me emotionally, physically, it affected my family, it affected my job, and I don't think I'm alone in that anymore, and this might be a great segue into social media because I feel like now back then, I was a model, I no one I grew up not very many people were fashion models in the
right.
'80s and '90s, right? And now we didn't have a lot of influence, normal people just had everyday schoolyard stuff, but now you get online and everything is saying, "You're not worth it, you're not good enough, she's better, here's what they're doing, blah, 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 here's what" we're in
Mhm,
this world of comparison, and what is it doing to our self-worth and who we are, um, and the power that we have within us. I think that so many people across all ages are now experiencing the same phenomenon that I had with having no idea who we are, or if we know, we're afraid to talk about it.
mhm.
We're afraid to come forward and say, "I'm Tricia, and I'm a bit weird, and I grew up in a weird environment, and I like to dance, and I am very opinionated about certain things, but I'm also ridiculously loyal, wonderfully compassionate, very bright, and very intuitive and have a fantastic gut instinct," right?
Mhm.
Which I always would say, well, then I'm different than everyone else. And I love the fact that I'm different. So I
Oh,
don't know. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about influencers and social media because it's messing with all of us.
I know, I know. And this is I'm glad you brought this up because this is a pet peeve, an annoyance, something that I like to complain about on the back end, but not on the front end. So now we're complaining about it on the front end publicly. You know, I think I have to consider this like a PSA, public service announcement for people because it's easy to get roped into Instagram marketing, influencer marketing. I mean, right now we have influencers promoting GLP-1s,
I know.
celebrities on TV, giving themselves a shot, which is just sending the message to all women. I mean, we're talking young women all the way up to, 60s, 70s, 80s, that you have to be thin. You have to take this medication in order to lose weight to be accepted. It's not about health. They're not focused on only type 2 diabetics with an elevated A1C. They're promoting it for weight loss. Now
Mhm,
what we're seeing online is that heroin chic look, exactly what you were pushed into as a model, is
mhm.
now coming back because of these GLP-1s pushed by influencers and celebrities. So we have that as an issue.
Yep.
On top of that, I mean, we're not even talking about the social media happy family. You have to
Right.
be like this, have this, do this, smile this way, go on vacation and post your family pictures. Now you're allowed to when you go to Disneyland. But
I
I'm just
won't
saying,
probably. I'm gonna
it's
be in the
that
moment.
there's that whole social media thing of pressure to live a certain way, but now it's gone another step. Now we have health influencers
Mhm.
standing on stages, mainly men, telling women that they don't need hormones. They don't need thyroid hormone. Just do their $10,000 protocol, take their supplement, sprinkle fairy dust on themselves, and do a rain dance, and everything will be fine. And I'm sitting there going, oh my God, this is detrimental to women's health. If they listen to this top level, well known influencers, they are going to get worse. And they might be $10,000 less and in the hole, but they're going to get worse. And that is what drives me crazy. Listen, we can
Mhm.
overcome the happy Facebook posts and go,
Mhm.
okay, that's Julie. Yeah, her and her husband just had a battle last night, but she's posting a smiley face. But but it's a whole other thing to have influencers pushing things down your throat to where you start to believe it and you start to question. It's as bad as your PCP medically gaslighting you. It's as bad as your OBGYN telling you you're normal, you're fine, it's all in your head. Just eat less and exercise more. Don't you know you're just getting older and this is what's going to happen and you're just going to have to deal with it? That is just as bad as the influencer on social media telling you you don't need hormones. All you need to do is buy their XYZ.
Yeah, and it's manipulation, right? It's
Yeah.
marketing manipulation. So the more often we see something, I mean, we learn this in business, right? So if I want to take out a Facebook ad to sell, I don't know, a supplement, right? I know I have to have it go in front of a person so many times. And if I hit them with the same message and I catch them in that brainwave state where they're scrolling, right? Which might put them into an alpha wave state because they feel somewhat relaxed and they're kind of chilling. If I program that into your brain, you're going to start to believe it. And the GLP-1s get me a lot because there's always everyone's their own story. What works for someone doesn't always work for someone else.
Mhm.
But it does hit my chord too, growing up in that industry and watching how many women destroyed their health with drugs, anorexia, body dysmorphia to try to be this thing that was considered healthy that
Mhm.
wasn't. It hits my chord too because it's not about the weight. It's about how you feel and about your muscle mass and the beautiful body you were given. You know, not everyone is 6 feet tall. So
Mhm.
you can't always look like Kate Moss. Like,
Right.
even if you tried, it wouldn't be healthy, but you can look absolutely beautiful at a higher weight. I'm probably maybe 30 pounds heavier than I was when I was modeling at my height. And people tell me I look great now. They're like, "Did you lose weight?" I'm like, "Well, actually, I've gained 30." Like,
Yeah.
because I think there's more muscle mass and there's more things to it. And I think if you're looking in the mirror and you're thinking, "I wanna look like that," or "I don't look good enough for that," we have to go back to why, as a society, are we passing this generational idea that we're not beautiful with a lot of the gifts that we were given and the bodies that we were given, and that it's about how we feel and being balanced and working with our unique beautiful selves and authenticity, you know? Do you watch Mad Men?
I did. Yes. I love that. Love that show.
That was like a kinda was, like, reminding me, like, the role of the woman at that time,
Yeah.
all dressed up to the nines, all put together, always had their makeup on, never could fall apart, and if they started to fall apart, they were considered crazy. And I
Mhm.
feel like we had this movement where we started to speak up and we started to be seen and we started to work and we started to do all these things, and now we were giving credit, and now I feel like we're going backwards. I feel like we're going back to, "No, you need to look like that or you're not enough."
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
we're sending that signal to young women, and I don't have a daughter, thankfully, at this but, I dance with a lot of young girls,
Mhm.
and, like, the mom in me is just like, I hear what they talk about, and I'm like, "You are so beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, don't let this phenomenon let's not do this again." So how do we stop this, Amy? Do we just have to call out influence or do we just have to bring attention to the fact that you're being manipulated? If you're seeing the same thing on your feed
Mhm.
every day
Yep.
in multiple different ways, it's a retargeting AI manipulation. Don't believe it.
Yes.
You are okay and you are enough, and find the people that you trust to help you. Work with someone that's gonna look at your whole picture. Figure it out because it's just gonna get worse.
Well, and I think it's an awareness thing, so we can start with you and I empower women to number one, pay attention to their symptoms. I always say when you have symptoms, these are gifts given
Yeah.
to you by your body to signal you, hey, something's off. It's okay, but you just need to look deeper. Now, if you ignore that gift, then it's going to turn into a loud scream and you're not going to be too happy with it. But take that gift, take your symptoms and explore. Figure out what might be going on with you.
Yeah.
And then you can work toward improving those things to improve your health. You
Mhm.
do your own exploration. And I think awareness when you go on social media, when you're starting to listen to podcasts like ours, when you're
Mhm.
starting to go down various rabbit holes, thyroid, hormone, cortisol, adrenals, just be aware of what comes on your feed
Mhm.
because we are being marketed to. In fact, I was at a
Mhm.
mastermind and I heard one gentleman explain it that it's actually, well, it's both and. So it is the fact that our phones are listening to us. And then, you're having a conversation. And all of a sudden, I'll open Instagram today and I'll see an adrenal ad or something like
Yeah.
that. But there's also the reverse. So marketers have planned it out to where they will show you things in a certain sequence
Yeah.
to affect your brain, to
Mhm.
get your brain primed. And it could be, I'm not going to say this correctly, but it could be like you see something tragic and then you see a puppy dog and then you see the product. And it's like,
Right.
oh my God. Oh yeah, now I'll buy that. And that's totally simplistic, but
Mhm.
marketers know exactly how to get you to buy. So it's almost like we have to pull back inward. And I'm not saying go off social media, but for goodness sake, at least be cognizant when you're on there doom scrolling that you are being marketed to. Stay in your own brain, in your own
Mhm.
senses, stay within your body and pay attention to you and your body and what feels good. Just like you said, Trisha, you have intuition. You have this, and you and I are so much alike. Like I have the same thing, this weird innate intuition. It's not psychic, it's not a sixth sense, but I'll tell you it's pretty darn close sometimes.
Mhm.
And I really believe that women specifically have this gift if they just tune into it. You
Mhm.
know your body. You know what it needs. You know what you need to do. But there's so much noise out here that you can't even listen to yourself anymore because
Mhm.
you're on the phone and on the computer and listening to the noise and listening to the marketing and you don't even know what your own body needs.
I agree. I mean, I demanded a hysterectomy, and I paid for it out of pocket because I knew that something was wrong and nobody could find it, and when they went in there, the surgeon said to me, "I am so sorry." She said, "I found so much endometriosis wrapped around your colon." And I had like
Oh,
I said earlier, I had had tons of gut issues for years, and nobody could figure it out. I was eating a clean diet and everything, and, um and as soon as I had that hysterectomy, I have not had gut issues since. Now,
yeah.
granted, I still eat really clean. It's not like I went back to eating crap, but, like, 95% of it was gone. Started going to the bathroom regularly, so I was doing all these things, right? Um, but my intuition said, and I had gone to multiple doctors, and they were like, "Ultrasounds look good. There's nothing wrong here. You're fine. You have a regular cycle, whatever." I'm like, "'Kay, I'm bleeding, I'm swelling, and I don't feel good, and something's wrong, and every time I sit and I just meditate, it goes right there, and I'm just telling you, something's wrong." And I was 100% right, and I had to advocate for myself, and nobody wants to have surgery, right? I didn't want to remove a part. It was actually really hard for me to do because obviously that's where my babies came from, but at the same time, what would have happened if I had just stuffed that down and
Mhm.
gone another 5 years, 10 years? Would it have been cancer? I
Right.
don't know. I've lost my family, my everyone above me, and so I just listen, and when there's some sort of signal that my body says I should do something, I just trust it now. I'm like, "Okay, they want me to do this or that," you know? And that might be kinda woo-woo, that might be kinda crazy, but there's there's an intuition there,
Yeah. Yeah. No,
and we
no
need
doubt.
to and we need to listen to it, you know?
We do. We do. Now I'll
Yeah.
flip this question back on you. What is your take on what you are seeing, specifically like the male influencers out there spouting this message? Or even, there's even some females out there that kind of send a bad message to other females. What's your take on it?
I think a lot of it is simply to get a reaction. I think, I see because that's a strategy, right? It's a strategy to be in your face. It's a strategy to call out people, put them on the screen and call out all the negative things they're saying, right? And I think the way I look at it, I don't really see it because I just don't pay
Go
attention
on
to it.
social media. That's
I
smart.
just
Yeah.
well, even if I no, I'm saying even if I'm on social media, if I see that, I just go right past it. I've trained myself to not be triggered by something like that. I guess it just doesn't bother me. I'm like, "Well, cool, they have an opinion. I don't really care." The bottom line is I know my body. I know what I need. I'm gonna find people that lift me up and make me feel good, right? And that
Mhm.
make me feel like I'm supported. So, whenever I come across an energy, and this could be from an influencer, it could be in person or whatever, when I come across an energy and this actually applies to what you're saying about news stories and things when you're scrolling.
Yep.
If it gives me a negative feeling, a feeling that would not be helpful to me, I stop and I say, "This has nothing to do with me. This is them. This has nothing to do with me." And I move on. And if
Mhm.
it's something that brings me joy and happiness and makes me laugh, like funny French bulldog videos or like trips of people getting totally doused on the Tiana's Bayou or whatever, like I'm like, "Hey, okay, this is funny." My son sends me that type of stuff all day. But I think we have to realize, like you're saying, they may give you something tragic. They may show you something horrible and then show you a puppy dog and then show you what else. This is in news too, guys. Your local news. I'm going to show you a traumatic thing, and then I'm going to show you another traumatic thing, and then I'm going to show you another traumatic thing, and then I'm going to show you something else that makes you want to react, right?
Yep.
In a negative, anger, blame, hate way. So I've just gotten really good at looking at those things and going within and saying, how does this make me feel? Is it serving me? And if not, I've had to put that wall up that says, that is not my problem, right? Their reaction, their way of doing things doesn't resonate with me,
Mhm.
right? And I used to be like you. I'm innately a scrappy do. So bring them on, bring them on. Like I own a French bulldog and she's totally me as a kid. Like it's just hilarious. Um, and I've had to really stop and ask myself, how can I look at this situation from a place of compassion
Mhm.
and from a place of understanding so that I don't trigger things in my body that are going to make me unwell? And right now, I mean, there's a lot going on in the world. So the feeds are filled with news stories. We don't know which ones are accurate, which ones aren't, but I can tell you which ones give me an emotional reaction. And so if I get an emotional reaction, I know that doesn't matter who wrote it, doesn't matter what side you're on, doesn't matter what you even think of it. If you got a strong emotional reaction, it's probably manipulated in some way. Because if it was non biased and was just information, you'd be like, oh, that's the information. And you'd go about your day. So I think that's how I look at all of that is, does this serve me? And what's the emotion that I get when I listen to this person or talk to this person? And ultimately, you have to use your gut and instinct.
Yeah. Yeah. No pun intended, use your gut. But yeah, absolutely.
Pun intended.
Yeah, pun intended. As long as you don't have stuff wrapped around it like Trisha did. Goodness.
What do you think of that? Because you are a scrappy do, so I bet you want to respond.
Yeah, but you know what? When it comes to that, I do step back. So I've actually done a really good job at unfollowing a lot of people and kind of changing the Instagram algorithm
Yeah.
so it only shows me certain things.
Oh,
So that
French
has
bulldog
seemed
videos are always a good way to pass time.
always, always. And then any dude that's wearing a wig making fun of like his wife in perimenopause, that cracks me up.
Yeah,
Like
me too. Oh, good. So
so
you haven't unfollowed me. No, I'm just kidding. I make
no.
fun of
Oh
I
no.
make fun of myself, and I'm in menopause technically now. I mean, it's hard to say with 100% certainty because I don't have a cycle, but perimenopause, menopause, whatnot. And I make fun of myself all the time because this is actually a pretty hilarious time, isn't it? Like,
Yeah, it
like it
is.
kind
You
of
have to
cracks
laugh.
me up. I mean, you could hate it, but you could also find the joy in it and the wisdom in it, and it gives you something to laugh about, you know?
That is true.
I
That's
don't know.
absolutely true. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And again, doing all of this is going to affect your health.
Mhm.
Like this entire conversation, people could be listening and going, okay, now give me something to do. Give me something to help me. We are like, actually, all of this is probably more important than talking about a supplement. Like it legit will move the needle in a faster direction than anything else we could talk about today, like a food you could add in, a supplement you could add in, a nutrient, blah, blah, blah. It really is getting down to what's up here, your brain, how you perceive stress, what you bring into your life, what you
Mhm.
bring into your visual field on your phone. All of that has such an impact on your thyroid, on your hormones, on your cortisol. Trisha, let me ask you this in your practice with thyroid. How often do you see women coming in like in the I call it thyropause, but in this perimenopause, menopause state where maybe they have been given hormones, maybe you're just giving them hormones for the first time, but we test their thyroids are tanked out because my definition of thyropause is when the thyroid gland shits the bed after the age of 40 due to fluctuating hormones. So and this comes back to we need to shine the spotlight on the thyroid, not just on perimenopause and menopause. Let's look at the master gland. How often are you seeing thyroid issues in like 40s, 50s, 60s popping up?
Quite a bit, but it's interesting because I don't always see it as a tanked T4.
Right.
Either someone will come in and they have antibodies, but their T4 and T3 are still quote normal. Their TSH is still quote normal. Which would be more of a subclinical hypothyroidism. So I see subclinical hypothyroidism, meaning that the utilization of thyroid is not correct, because that's what you see in adrenal fatigue and cortisol issues is the way that we use hormones. It's not that they aren't there sometimes, it's that they're not being utilized. So I'll see often, sometimes even an optimal TSH and T4, but their T3 will be at the low end of normal and their reverse T3 will be like at 50. Right. So
Mhm.
they're storing tons of thyroid. So they're making it. And then often when I do further investigation, I find selenium deficiencies, iodine deficiencies, magnesium deficiencies. So the way I look at this, Amie, is if I were to explain it like a conveyor belt, right? And our body's product is energy. We have to make energy to do anything, to manufacture thyroid, to transport hormones, to digest our food. So if we had an assembly line, right? And, each thing had a step. Let's say we're building this pen that I'm holding up. And, the first step is you put it together, then you pop in the ink, and then you put on the little clip and it moves down the assembly line. Well, if someone doesn't show up for their job, the guy that puts the clip on, selenium, isn't there, right?
Mhm.
Then everything gets backed up in the system. Everything. So now you've got a bunch of pens with no clip, but the people who are further down the line are like, dude, hurry up. Like, what the
Mhm.
heck? So they call in someone from accounting or HR just to come stand in and put the little thing on there. They don't really know what they're doing, but it's a band aid. That
Right.
is an adrenal adaptation right there. That's the body adapting to the environment that it has. But the body is stressed because it's not making any money, because it's not producing enough pens,
Mhm.
energy. And so the body is upset. So the owners start getting stressed out. The business owners are getting stressed out. The employers are getting mad because they're not getting paid. And now we got some crazy person coming in and putting this part on. So now everything's getting backed up on the end. So when that happens, the body goes into a stressed state. Whether or not you feel stressed or not, when you're going through perimenopause, you're going through even thyroid disorders, you have a nutrient disorder, you have anything, it holds up the production of energy and everyone is affected. And that causes internal stress. That's not, I'm late for work and I can't find my shoes, I'm stressed out. That's my body can't produce energy in the way that it needs to produce. So it's going to adapt. And so what I find more than anything is that the thyroid is so beautifully equipped to adapt. So it stores reverse T3 to put in the accounting department just in case that guy doesn't show up again. They can
Yeah.
bring that person. And then the actual production of the energy coming from T3 or otherwise is lower. And then all of the cofactors that add all the parts, the selenium, the iodine, the magnesium, gut flora, the microbiome, those, have to be manipulated because they're all now being impacted. And that's why we end up with this cascade of problems. So eventually, to get back to your question, that person will end up with a low T4. They will end up in a hypothyroid state because that's just going to happen. The body has to make a choice.
Mhm.
How is it going to live and produce the energy? How can it get by, to keep the machine running and make money in the meantime, even if it's less? And we get tired. All the things that you could give up start failing. Your hair starts falling out. We don't
Yep.
need hair to produce energy.
Right.
So let's just stop that. We start getting wrinkles on our face. We don't need that. We can produce energy with wrinkles. It doesn't matter. So we start taking away all the things that we have perceived as beautiful or wonderful energy. We're using energy to make the pen rather than having a surplus of energy that we can sell in other places, right? It's a business analogy. And so I see this all the time because my database, my people are people who are high achieving,
Yep.
perfectionists, professionals, smart. They do everything. They multitask. They manage families. They manage jobs. They take care of their family, their parents, whatnot. They do everything and they do it well. And they've always done it well. And then by the time this machine starts not working, they're like, I'm not what I used to be. I don't have the energy to work out anymore. I don't understand. I used to work out and used to lose 10 pounds. I don't understand. I'm doing everything right. I go to the gym, I eat my food, I take all the supplements, and I feel horrible. And my labs are normal,
Yep.
but they're not
Yeah.
because it's a conversion issue. And this is actually, just to flip this to a positive, this is actually a really beautiful thing
Yeah.
because the body is protecting you and it's sending you signals, as you say, it's saying, hey, pay attention to me. What's the best way to get a woman to go to the doctor? Make her hair fall out.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I
She'll
was gonna
go.
go with weight gain or hair.
Weight
Yeah.
gain and weight gain. Weight
Yeah.
gain when you're doing everything right. I think
Yep.
sometimes in this time when you have a lower T3 or you have perimenopause, sometimes you are eating poorly and you're not exercising and you're like, "Okay, I know where the weight's coming from, but I don't have the motivation to do it." Right?
Right.
There's
Right.
another blockade, right? But if you really wanna get a woman and I bet I could say right now how many of you are concerned with your hair loss, and everybody's gonna start saying, "Me, me, 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 me."
Uh-huh.
Like, hair loss seems to be something that gets people in my door.
Yeah.
I don't
Oh, yeah. All
like
day. Absolutely.
all day long. But so does that answer to me? Yeah, I see it all the time, but I don't think it's always a hypothyroidism clinically. And often, I screen antibodies on intake. I
Yeah.
don't wait for the thyroid to tank before I look for Hashimoto's, right? So
Thank you.
I
Yes.
diagnose Hashimoto's 20 years before it actually causes hypothyroidism.
Yep.
And by treating the stress response, by really and treating all of your whole assembly line, looking at what are all the nutrients we need for this? What's your gut health? Are you absorbing these? Why don't you have enough selenium? It's not even always take it. Often it's you can take it, but if you're not absorbing it, we're not going to get anywhere either. So, how do we support the system in a way that gives you all the little pieces so everybody's happy, everyone shows up on time, everyone builds the pen and
Mhm.
moves forward? And we can actually, I mean, I've reversed Hashimoto's antibodies regularly throughout my career by simply just looking at the whole system and treating it that way. And in my opinion, that saved them from hypothyroidism down the line, and they didn't end up having to use thyroid medication. Some do, right?
Yep. Yeah, I
Sometimes we
get the
have
ones
to.
that some do. I get the ones that are like 20 years
Right,
Hashimoto's and their
right,
thyroid glands are like the size of my little pinky
right.
finger. So yeah, that's when they come into my class. So that's where I will always say, so my listeners who hear me, they say,
Mhm.
"Well, can you reverse Hashimoto's naturally?" I go, "Only if you catch it at the beginning.
Yeah,
Only if you catch it in that state where the antibodies have started, the thyroid gland is not in the complete toilet,
mhm,
and you're not riddled with symptoms yet to where you're like, "Oh my god, I'm never getting out of this."
yep,
If we catch them in the state that you catch them in, yes, 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 there is
mhm,
hope that we
mhm.
can push that back and keep someone off thyroid medication.
But you know what? That makes a great point back to the advertising and the influencers. You and I do very similar work, but we have
Yep.
very different audiences. Right? So
Yeah.
I could come out and say, "Yeah, I can reverse Hashimoto's. I've reversed it a lot." But there's someone who's had Hashimoto's for 20 years, their thyroid isn't working anymore. They're a different audience. So everything that you see when you're scrolling and you're like, "Oh, well, this'll work because it worked for her." Well, guess what? That might have been targeted towards a different audience that wasn't actually you. And this becomes so confusing. And I think this is why we're also overwhelmed by all the health information because even GLP-1s, there are certain people that should use GLP-1s. There are
Yes.
many people that shouldn't. But when the audiences get mixed and the messages get mixed, who suffers? The
Yeah.
person watching. And that's the people listening here. So I think we all have to look at who are our people? And I always say, my people are, I'm catching them when they haven't bottomed out yet. They're just pushing and they're starting to say, why don't I have this energy anymore? I'm trying to get to my business meeting and I'm like half asleep. Like, they haven't bottomed out yet. Right. So
Yep.
asking an adrenal doctor who sees the people that I see, the perfectionist high achievers, is going to be very different from asking an adrenal doctor who sees chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia.
Uh-huh.
Very different audience. And I think we need to keep that in mind when we listen to podcasts, when we listen to any of us talking, when we talk about influencers and ads and supplements, we need to keep in mind, who are they talking to? And is that really you?
Oh, that's so true. I love that. I never even thought about that different audience take, but you're 100% right. And
Mhm.
our social media has learned that. Now, it doesn't always get it right. To
Yep.
Trisha's point, that's why sometimes you might see something that you go, oh, is this for me? Should I be paying attention to it? Maybe, maybe not. You have to know where you are in your journey. And
Yep.
again, that comes all the way back to listening to your body, being in tune, being in touch with your symptoms, knowing how you normally do feel and knowing when something just is not right, just something
Yep.
isn't wrong. And then, of course, there's the hearing that you're normal by your doctor. I talk about that a lot in my book, Thyroid Fix, it's behind me. But I have a section in there that's called "Normal is a Setting on the Dryer," and
Mhm.
that's exactly it. It's like you should never hear from your doctor, "Oh yeah, your labs are normal, looks good."
Never.
Like, no, no. You say that your doctor, doc, normal is a setting on my dryer. Are my labs optimal or not? Well, what do you mean? I mean, functional medicine has optimal ranges. They're a lot smaller than what you see on that standard lab value range. I want to be in the optimal range, so I'm feeling my best. If your doctor looks at you like a deer in headlights, then it's time to get a new doctor because that doctor doesn't even really care about you being optimal. He or she just wants you within normal limits on that standard lab value range. We
Mhm.
want you optimal. And that's the thing. No matter what audience we have, Trisha and I have the same goal. We want you optimal.
Yeah, and I think, trends are really important in labs, and I think that gets, it doesn't get spoken about enough. Like, for example, someone comes in, let's say they have a glucose of 89. That's normal. The next year they come in and it's at 93. That's normal. They get it again and it's at 97. That's normal. And then they get up to 99. That's normal. And then the next year they're 102. Oh my God, you're pre-diabetic. What? Where did that come from? Right?
Mhm.
Like when I started seeing that go up, I'm like, well, are we looking at the insulin? What's the insulin doing? What's the hemoglobin A1C doing? What are your cortisol levels doing? Is your thyroid now starting to store? Like when you see trends, sometimes we are outliers. And I think a lot of people don't realize that those ranges that are set by Quest or LabCorp or whatever, they take a general population, they drop off the top 10% and they drop off the bottom 10%. And that's the range. And there are some people that naturally fall out of range. I have many clients who maybe have slightly low white blood cells than the range, but they're always the same.
Yep.
When I go over the course of years of working with them, there's no movement in them. They're holding strong. Everything looks consistent. And we can say, you know what? You tend to run at a 3.8 instead of a 4.2 or whatever. And as long as we don't see that shifting. Now, if we see that start to shift, here's the funny thing is that could go up into a normal range. And that could be abnormal because
True.
now we've learned that their normal is something else. And I think that's a really important thing. And I think optimal ranges are always the optimal, and there are tinier ranges for us functionally minded people, but then we also have to look at what's their normal and what's them, and what's happening when you compare them from lab to lab. Are they moving in the direction towards optimal or are they moving away or are they staying the same? And that's a really important point. So when the doctor calls up and says, oh, your labs are normal. Okay, normal for who?
Yeah.
Um, for me? And what does that mean, and how does it compare to last year? I have so many clients that have never physically seen their labs because the doctor
Wow.
doesn't give them to them. Like I print them, I use paper, or I print them out, all 8 pages of the labs I do. And when they come in, it's got my notes on it, whatever, and I hand it to them. And I say,
Mhm.
put it in your health binder. And when we do labs next year, we're going to compare. I put last year's numbers right next to the previous numbers and
Yep.
compare. Where are we at? Where are you at now in your life that you were before? Have you been exercising more, less? Has your diet stayed the same? What types of stressors have come up in your life? Can we explain why the labs might be going up? Did your cholesterol go up because you're moving closer to menopause? Not because you're in cardiovascular decline.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
cholesterol makes hormones. So I have so many women, they go into menopause and their cholesterol goes up by 5 points and they're like, oh my God, I'm gonna have a heart attack. I'm like, no, you need hormones. Like
Right.
your body's saying, I'm trying to make hormones for you and I can't.
Mhm.
So we have things move. And I think it's perspective on labs that's so important to look at on
Yes.
top of the optimal ranges.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. You have
Mhm.
to look at the optimal ranges. You have to look at trends. You have to look at the individual. And last thing is if you are not being asked by your practitioner, by your provider, these 4 words, then I want you to turn and walk out the door because you will never, ever, ever get the help that you need. Okay. You ready? You got to write
I'm
these
on the edge
down.
of my seat. Hold on.
Okay.
Okay. What are
Here we
these
go.
4 words?
How do you feel?
No.
I know. Right.
Um,
And how many people don't hear that when they go in? They're treated like a lab value. Listen, we love labs.
yeah,
We
they're great.
love data. It's so
They're a
much
tool.
fun, right? They give us a direction, but it all comes down to how do you feel? Because I could have a patient that has, let's take free T3. She has a free T3 of a 2.7, we'll say.
Mm,
Okay, per optimal ranges, that's not optimal.
right.
Most of the time we'd say, "Hey, Susie Q, we need to get that up." But you have to ask her, "How do you feel?"
Mhm,
Because there could be one patient with a 2.7
mhm.
free T3 and she's like, "I feel great. I've never felt better. The brain
Yep.
fog is lifted. My mood is better. I'm finally losing weight. This is awesome." Are we going to give her more thyroid medication?
No.
No. But we could have Jane over here with a 2.7 free T3, and she's like, "Oh my god, I can't get through the day. I just
Mhm,
put on another 5 pounds this weekend,
mhm.
and I have, 100 more hairs that fell out of my head." So for her, we're gonna treat her differently. You have to be asked those 4 words, or you are not working with a good practitioner, or at least one that is gonna know what to do with you,
I'm dancing.
right?
It's so incredibly true. I have a T3 of 2.7. I honestly think if someone gave me thyroid, I would have a heart attack because I have
Oh,
so much energy. I sleep
yeah.
so well. I feel freaking great. I
Mhm.
I don't need it. Right? I
Yep,
don't.
exactly.
But I have patients who come back at that and they are in I mean, they're in dire straits and I would give it to them, right?
Yep.
So like so incredibly true. You know what my pet peeve is? Are we on pet peeves?
Yeah, we're doing pet peeves.
Why not?
Yeah.
You know what my pet peeve? This is what I don't want your doctor to say. Oh, it's just stress.
Gaslighting. Yep.
Because great. What do you want me to do about it? Right? Like they just I don't think there's a single I'll be honest, I don't think there's a single specialist or doctor or study that does not link stress to further health decline. Cardiovascular system is impacted by stress. GI is impacted by stress. Hormones are impacted by stress. Sleep, mental health, anxiety, depression. Like there isn't a single practitioner. If I just went around even to every conventional doctor and said, "Hey, do you think stress plays a role in the heart?" Every single one will say, absolutely, it plays a role. In fact, it's in pretty much every treatment plan reduce stress. Here's my pet peeve nobody tells you what to do. Just
That's
go home and
true.
reduce stress. Just do less. Just, take some time for yourself. Okay, doc, great. I have 4 kids and a full time job and a husband and I travel and all of this stuff. Great. I'll just go and I can't take time off work because I need to make money and support my family. I'm a breadwinner, whatnot. Like, it's not, and you can't just think your way out of stress either,
Right.
right? It's
Right.
a it's a full on thing. You have to train your brain, and that takes time. It took 20 years for your body to adapt to the stress that you're under, and it's not going to turn around in a day, and it's certainly not going to turn around by just talking about it. We have to actually do something. And I think that really comes from us deep within saying, I'm going to take my power back over my health. And I'm going to set my boundaries and I'm going to say no. And if that means you have to write down, I just did this last week, which is why it's my example. It was very depressing. But I wrote down every single thing that I do in my day,
Okay.
everything from every single task that I did, every task I thought about, every task I did, I just write it down.
Okay.
It was like 8 pages long. And then I was like, okay, if I clump these all into categories, right? This is all stuff I do for my husband. This is all stuff I do for my kids. This is all stuff I do for me. This is all stuff I do for my patients. This is all the stuff I do to run my business. And then you take those categories and you say, do I really need to do this or can I delegate it? Right? I
Oh,
often, and I do. One of the things I say is anytime you find yourself in a stressful situation, ask yourself this. One, do I have control over the outcome? Yes or no? Is it worth my energy to do this? And based on those two answers, you're either going to let it go, delegate it, or do it. Right? So if it's within your control and it's worth your energy, it's very easy to get done because
Mhm.
the answer's already there. Simple, quick, cross it off the list, whatever. If it is not in your control, it doesn't matter how hard you work on it, you will never get it done. And it's just going to cause anguish for you. So you either need to find someone else to do it and delegate it, or you need to let that go because it's not worth it. It's not worth your energy and it's not worth your time because you're never going to get a solution. We see that with the social media. I'm going to just keep researching and reading and whatnot, but there's no, it's or something out of control. Things that are happening elsewhere in the world that we can't control. We can worry about it, or we can just try to just pay forward good energy to everybody, right? And so I find that when I do that, which I try to do about every 6 months, I get rid of easily 70% of the things that I do in a day because it starts to become very clear. I can delegate that or I don't have to do that. I may have to change my expectation. Like my kids still don't wash the dishes as well as I would. I still grab a glass out of the cabinet. There might be a piece of food on there. I'm like, oh, Christ, stupid teenagers, but whatever. It was something that I let go of, right? And I think if when you do this task, you need to look at what you're thinking about as well as what you're doing.
Mhm. Yep. You're right. That's so good. That's so good.
And
And
that can reduce your stress by 80%. So,
80%.
yeah,
That's
because if
huge.
you're getting rid of 70 to 80% of your stuff, the first time I did it, I literally unloaded at least 80% of the things I was doing. And then, of course, because I'm a type A, I added more shit to my list and
Well,
it
yeah.
went back up again. And then I had to, that's why I do this every 6 months because I got to sit down and be like, all right, what have I decided to take on in my life in the last 6 months? And is it something I enjoy doing? When you really get good at this, then you can start looking at those blocks and then start asking the question, do I like doing this? And that comes back to the thing about you love your job, you love what you do.
Mhm.
Well, I
Yep.
like doing it. Yeah, it takes a lot of my time, but I really enjoy it. And I'm good at it. I have control over the outcome. It's worth my energy. That's that question,
Mhm.
right? Therefore, yeah, I'm going to do it because it's worth the time. It makes me feel good, right?
I love it.
So start asking yourself that question. There's your solution that if doctors could just tell you, how do we start reducing stress? Where do we start? That's where you start. Um, just meditate is my other favorite one.
Oh god.
Okay, tell a woman who has 1,000 things running through her head to just meditate. Um, right? It's it's a practice, right? So if we start crossing things off our list, we start taking back control of our lives, we bring our power back, and we say, you know what, we're in control of this. Then when you start getting free time, then you're like, you know what, I'm going to start learning how to put myself in an alpha wave state. And I'm just going to see what meditation is about because now you have 5 minutes.
Mhm.
So you use that 5 minutes and then you get better at it. And then, months go by and then you try something else. Okay, now I'm going to up level that to the next level. Health does not happen with one decision. I've been working on my health for 25 years to get to where I am right now.
Mhm.
I'm way healthier now than I was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, which is the opposite of what we think. We think we get sicker as we get older. I'm actually getting healthier as I get older. And it's because I'm recognizing that there's a ladder. You pick one thing, you set your boundaries, and then you open up time, you learn something new, you get curious, you learn a little bit more, you tighten up your diet, you do your thing, whatever. And so I want to know everyone who listens to this and does that, how many things they can cross off their list. Will you put that in the comments?
Put it in the comments. I will do this. I really will. It seems very daunting of a
Uh-huh.
task. It seems like it's literally gonna take me all day to write down what I do all day,
Voice
but
text it.
I will do it. Yeah, that's true. ChatGPT. I'll start a project. So
Well, and that's the thing is you can take that list and put it into ChatGPT and say, "Can you organize this by category?" And then
that's true.
here's the things I like, here's how I want to feel, or here's how I feel with these. I mean, you can get really granular about it, but to be honest, just start paying attention to how much you do. Because once we bring it to the front of our mind and it's not subconscious, we're able to actually make a choice.
Yes, absolutely. Trisha, I'm
Yeah.
thinking this should be called the ultimate thyroid and adrenal podcast or masterclass or something. Because legit, I'm thinking of our entire conversation that we've had and how it's very much out of the box for what people would expect. Because, like I said earlier, they're expecting, okay, you want to test this for thyroid, and then and then you wanna take these supplements, and then you wanna do this test for your adrenals, and then you wanna take these supplements for adrenals. Like, that's normally when you're being interviewed, I'm sure if this was just me interviewing you, that's what I would be asking. Okay, Tricia, let's go down the rabbit hole of what people can do for their adrenals and their stress and that. But what we have talked about today is so foundational for both thyroid health, adrenal health, hormone health, metabolic health, that this really is the best masterclass that anyone could listen to, implement for free.
For free.
For free. All of the advice we gave today, you can do for free.
Oh my
And
god, what a bad businesswoman I am. I
I
just
know,
gave away
right?
all the tools
All the
right
tools.
there.
Yep.
Well, yeah, but by doing this, you get better utilization out of the supplement. Like, I actually absorb my supplements now. I take supplements. Now, what I
Absolutely.
take
Yeah.
has changed drastically over the years, and it changes every year
All
based on
right.
what I need, but
So we can make the listeners happy.
yes. Uh-oh.
We'll both answer this question. What is your favorite adrenal stress balancing, cortisol balancing supplement? If you could pick one, if people can only take one thing to support their stress, to support their adrenals, what would it be?
In the hormone crazed population.
Well,
I'm just asking. We're talking
yeah.
about women, we're talking about midlife women, I mean, that's kind of who we're talking to, right? So I would say phosphatidylserine.
Oh, okay. Yes, I like that too. I
See,
do.
you thought I'd
So am
probably
I.
say rhodiola or ginseng or something stimulatory, right?
No,
But
I was
here's
thinking
why.
magnesium,
Well, I mean, you said pick one. Like,
one.
if I said, I would say, magnesium, methylated B vitamins, and then at night, phosphatidylserine with L-theanine, and then during the day is when you're looking at, like, rhodiola and things like that. But one of the things that people misconstrue about adrenals, and this will be why I said phosphatidylserine, is that we assume that because we're tired and because we don't have the energy to do things that we should stimulate our body. And that is wrong. The reason you're tired is because you're overstimulated. So what we need to do is we need to rest and we need to get the body into a parasympathetic state, which is your flow state. You're actually quite alert and clear when you're in a calm state. You're frazzled and all over the place when you're in a stimulated state. So I say the best in general, the supplement that I get the best response from is anything that calms the system and allows us to just take a moment. And phosphatidylserine is one of those that helps the cortisol come down so that you can have perspective. And that is why. And the more that you calm the body, the less tired you will be because the energy assembly line that we talked about earlier will be able to actually produce some backup energy for your little body company. How about you? What's the number one thing that you should take for thyroid?
For thyroid. I know, I'm split too. I'm going between 2. I'm going between 2. It's a close tie between iodine, the very controversial supplement,
Yeah.
and of course, the forgotten thyroid hormone T2. I'm
Mhm.
gonna go dang it, I don't know. I'm so torn. Alright, so I'm gonna go a little bit with T2 because it does help convert, well, so does iodine. It helps convert T4 to T3. It's gonna improve metabolism. It increases your basal metabolic rate, reduces oxidative stress, reduces inflammation, browns white adipose tissue. So when I run through the benefits there, and then if T2 is paired with L-tyrosine, okay,
Uh-huh.
shameless plug for Thyroid Fixer, yeah, but my Thyroid Fixer has L-tyrosine in it with
Yep,
T2. That is going to help your thyroid gland actually produce its own thyroid hormone because we need L-tyrosine for that. So
yep,
I'm going to lean more toward T2 as the
yep.
main supplement. Yep.
And then ironically, everything else that I said also benefits the thyroid, right? Like magnesium, B vitamins. Like we need minerals and we need nutrients. I mean, we run off nutrients and we live in a society with horrible food and a lot of stress that impacts our digestion. And so it's really important to just remember all those, that everything works together in the body. It's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
It
I
really
think
is.
T2 is not talked about a lot. And that's why I love that you talk about that because you really don't see a lot of people talking about that at all. And you don't see a lot of people talking about phosphatidylserine either.
You don't.
So
You really don't. You really don't. Now, would you use phosphatidylserine, say that 5 times fast, would you use that just with people with elevated nighttime cortisol or anyone can use it?
Well, I should say the people that I see typically are more in a stage 2 adrenal fatigue. So their cortisol's going up and down like a roller coaster.
Mm,
Sometimes it's high, sometimes it's low, right? I'm not working with the people that are chronically fatigued, fibromyalgia, bottom out people, right? Which is why I very rare I mean, I think in my entire career I've probably prescribed something that has an adrenal glandular, or I don't know that I've ever prescribed hydrocortisone, but even using a adrenal glandular, I think I've probably used it twice in my career
yeah.
because I won't give that to somebody unless they literally are like Addison's level bottomed out, right? Because most of the time the reason they're having the symptoms is because their hormones are going up and down all the time. And then
Yeah.
the other people are the people I catch early where their cortisol is high all the time. So their nighttime cortisol might be high all night, might be high all day. So the roller coaster people typically, yeah, they'll have a spike of cortisol at night, but it won't always stay like that. It might
Mhm.
peak at 5, it might peak at 7, it might peak at 9. So the majority of the people that I see have some sort of abnormal peak sometime with their cortisol, and typically at night in the evening hours or in the middle of the night at 2 a.m. By the
Yeah.
way, when you wake up at 2 a.m. and you're like, damn it, that's your cortisol. Hello.
Yep.
Cortisol and liver. If you go traditional Chinese medicine, they say it's the liver. You go more physiologically, it's typically cortisol putting you to sleep at 2 p.m. and waking you up at 2 a.m. Um, so phosphatidylserine in general, it's an amino fatty acid, very easily tolerated. It's a natural substance. It's not a prescription. And um, kind of just takes that edge off and asks the cortisol to go down at night so it can come back up during the day. I
Mhm.
do have people though who are more in a stage 1 that are have high cortisol more often, that when they take it, their body overrides it and
Oh,
they get more anxious.
okay.
And a lot of people think, oh, well, it doesn't work for me then. And my response would be, well, if we try to calm your body and your body adapts to more cortisol, we know, number one, that your adrenals are protecting you. There's nothing wrong with them.
Mhm.
They work fine. We just know that you have too many bears. You're interpreting too many bears. There's a fear response going on, and we've got to start working on that because if we don't work on that to calm the body down, right, you're going to end up in a stage 2 and ultimately a stage 3.
Right. Right. Beautiful. I love
Long
it.
drawn out answer. Anyway,
No, I love
you know
it.
how much
I love
fun
it.
I have with you? This was so much fun.
This was so much fun. I don't think there's anything that we missed, but is there anything that we missed?
Well, how about this? How can people find you
Yes, let's do that one.
for
Yes.
my podcast?
Yes. What's going on? How do people find you? So for me, you can go to dramie.com, DRAMIE.com. And from there, you're going to find links everywhere to the Thyroid Fixer podcast, which this episode will be on as well. But you can certainly subscribe to my podcast too, people, because there's a lot of good information. You can listen to both.
Yep.
And then if you want to grab the Thyroid Fix book that is coming out on May 12th, it is the Thyroid Bible, Tricia. I didn't get a chance to tell you, but legit, this book is everything that could possibly be said about the thyroid and more, and literally how you fix it. So I went into areas that of course I looked at all the thyroid books on the
Mhm.
market.
Yeah.
I've been following them for years. Datis Karazian was the first one that I bought back in like 1998, whenever it
Mhm.
was published. But, a lot of them are missing key components. Some of them only talk about reversing Hashimoto's naturally. Some of them
Mhm.
only talk about the clinical side, like Antonio Bianco's. I wanted to blend both. There
Mhm.
is there is the medicine. It's important. I wanted to teach people how to read their labs. I want to teach them how to interpret it and to know, hey, if you are on thyroid hormone, specifically craptastic T4 only that doesn't work, here's what you can do to improve your chances, or here's what you can do when you're looking for a doctor. Here's the questions to ask. So I joke, I say, this book isn't a recipe book. It's not a nutrition book. It's not a workout book. It's not a sprinkle fairy dust on your thyroid and everything will be fine book. It
Mhm.
legit is down in the trenches and it is teaching you how to fix your thyroid. Like the tagline is the no nonsense guide to fix fatigue, fogginess, and fat that won't budge. There it is. So you can go to thyroidfixbook.com to order yours, pre-order, tons of bonuses. Or if you're listening to this closer to May 12th, it's going to ship out soon. So get on that because we're doing an all day live launch on May 16th as well. And
Oh,
you can
fun.
take part in that, get your labs read, live Q&As, experts, giveaways, the whole deal.
I love it. Now you have to make me run into the other room to grab mine.
Well, go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
Do that.
Love it. I love it, and congratulations. I'm so excited for you on that book.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you. Thank
great.
you.
And it's so good to catch up with you and spend time with you. It's been too long. I think I did your podcast, it was like 2+ years ago. It was a
Years
long time
ago?
ago.
I
I feel
know,
like
it's been too long.
maybe
Yeah.
even longer, maybe even longer. So it's really good to see you. So for me, how can you find me?
Yes.
First of all, if you want to be on social media and actually laugh and have fun and like try to just get a little bit of humor out of life and also get information about your health that's useful to you, I'm a great one to follow. Instagram is my primary platform. It's at Dr. Pingel, DrPingel. I'm also on Facebook, LinkedIn. I think I'm on TikTok. My social media manager managed I can't go on TikTok. I literally lose I can't do it. Um, but I post there. I just don't really comment there. So if you Instagram's my place. I'm
Yeah.
also on YouTube. So my podcast is What Am I Modeling? And what we look at is how do we break these generational cycles of burnout, perfectionism, health decline. It's full of transformational stories of people who gosh, almost lost their life or, had these major transformations in their life that are inspiring and motivational, mixed with guests such as Amie, who are educated in certain areas of their health. It's a place that I created out of my heart and my passion. I very much want us to move forward in joy because joy is the key to happiness and health. And without it, it doesn't matter what you do. With that said, I have been the Adrenal Whisperer for 20 years. I also wrote a book, Total Health Turnaround.
Nice.
And this book came out many, many years ago before we were talking about adrenals. I was a little ahead of my time. I do have a chapter there on how the adrenals impact the thyroid, how they impact the hormones, how it impacts the gut. I actually took the top 10 medications that people were using in our country at the time, and
Mhm.
I wrote about how stress is involved to why they use those medications. So all of the top conditions that are killing America and how we can look at it from a stress perspective. It does have a full plan: diet, exercise, mindset, supplement, education, things like that. So you can find it on Amazon. You can also find it on my website, drpingel.com. And you can find all my links, just like Amie, on my website from anywhere. And
Everything's
all
on
I
point.
ask is if you follow me, you find something of mine, please say hello. Like, put a comment. Hey, I heard you on the Thyroid Fixer, had so much fun. Because here's the thing: why am I coming out here and talking if we're not connecting?
Right? There you go. I love that.
I mean, that's what we're here for, is to connect and support each other. And so I just love to, when people just say, hey, I love watching your dance videos. If you do love to watch me dance, that's fine. You can come watch that on Instagram too.
I love it. I love it. All right, I'm gonna ditto that. You gotta comment too, because I wanna hear where you came from. I wanna learn about you. And that's the thing. Tricia and I are so much alike that we love actually connecting with you. Like, we
Yeah.
love doing this. This is our passion. Like you said, standing on a stage. My favorite part about being on a stage is the Q&A afterwards.
Oh, me too.
It's not
Hands
about the
down.
message that I'm
Oh,
giving. Like, yeah, that's good. I'm glad to give you information, but I wanna know your questions. Like, I
100.
always leave like 20 minutes at the end for Q&A.
Only 20? I feel
I
like I
know.
could go for like an hour on people's questions. I mean, I used to do a live Q&A every Friday on social platforms, but then my schedule was just kind of railroading that a little bit. But
Mhm.
I'm with you. Yeah. And
Yep.
I just want to thank you for spending so much time with me today. This dual podcast thing is fun. And I'm so grateful for you and everything that you do. And I love your energy towards going through cancer, coming through it, looking at the world in a way that's positive, putting defense and, you know, rock in the back
Yep.
seat and showing up with compassion and joy. I'm really excited to watch that journey for you, and I am your biggest cheerleader in that. So if you need any joy, you just pick up the phone, girl, and I will give you that joy. Thank you for just
Or I'll
being
go to your social media and I'll find
here.
joy there because 'cause I'll let you dance. Exactly. Well, no, you have been right back at you. You know, I know this is like the ending is a love fest, but honestly, Tricia, like your knowledge combined with your compassion and your joy that is what women need. This is exactly what women need. And just your energy coming through the mic, through the camera is so intoxicating. It's like, how can you not smile when you look at Dr. Tricia? So thank you as well. This has been a blast. We're definitely going to do another podcast swap. Yes, I can focus it on just, adrenals and all that and give you ladies, all you listeners, just some love on the adrenals from Tricia's brain. So we will absolutely do that. But this has been phenomenal. And like I said, I think it's the masterclass for thyroid and adrenals.
Absolutely. And you just tell me when you want me to come back and what you want to talk about, and I'm in. Like, easy peasy. Just
We're
send
doing
me a
it.
note. All
We're
right.
doing it. All
Much
right.
love to you,
Till
girl.
next time. Thank you all for listening.
Ready to break the cycle? Visit drpingel.com for resources and find me on all social platforms by searching Dr. Tricia Pingel. That's Pingel. And please subscribe to What Am I Modeling on YouTube and your favorite podcast app. Your reviews help us break these generational cycles for more people. Remember, when you change what you model, you change everything. See you next week.